Hey, what's going on, everybody? Jamie McDonald here for Mirrorless Minutes, episode number 42. And in case you couldn't tell by the title, I'm dubbing this the minimalist episode. Minimalist, not because I'm discussing minimalist photography or minimalist gear selection, but minimalist because it's just me here tonight. Mike Banning is off gallivanting somewhere around the country for his day job, which keeps him extremely busy traveling. If memory serves me correctly, I think he's in the Carolinas tonight. So everybody wish Mike safe travels for work, and he'll be on the next episode, I think. I'm pretty sure. He's a busy guy. So what am I going to talk about tonight? As you can probably imagine, if you follow me through any social channels, you'll know that I just returned from a workshop with fellow trailblazer Alex McClure. I went to Arizona to do an astrophotography workshop with Alex, help him out with that. And it was a really cool opportunity to meet some new people, shoot with new people, visit an area of the country I had not been to before, which was exciting. I have passed through Arizona on my way to Hawaii, but never actually got out of the airport. So technically couldn't check that off on my list of places I visited until now. So I'll just talk a little bit about that and talk about the benefits, I think, of attending workshops. And of course, I'm going to have to share a few photographs from the workshop. And again, if you follow me on some social channels, you may have seen one or two of the images, but I'm trying to make sure that I have some images to share that I have not put out there yet for people to see. So I guess I'll just start off with just talking about the importance of attending something like a workshop. And I'm not just saying this because I do workshops with Mike Banning and now with Alex McClure. So it's not like I'm trying to drum up attendees to workshops. I just seriously think that people benefit from getting around other like-minded people to shoot. And it's not just for the educational aspect of it, but it's also because lots of times photography can be a solitary endeavor. Like this afternoon, I was out shooting by myself, hunting down some birds to shoot. And while that is great and fun, I find that when you get in a group environment, such as with a workshop or a photo walk, there's a different part of your creativity that's tapped. And I think that everybody benefits from that. And of course, there are the obvious things, like the educational aspect of it, or in this case, the travel side of it. For those who attended the workshop that were from out of state, it was a chance to shoot somewhere new. And, so you get to share a new location, you get to learn, you get to shoot with, other people, and it's an escape from your daily routine. I personally have a day job, outside of my participation in the visionary program with Olympus. So the ability to get away from the 9-to-5 rut and go just unleash the creative side of myself, with other creatives is a cool thing. So I encourage you, if you're not going to sign up with mine and Mike's meetup group, just do a search for Mirrorless Adventures, or Alex McClure's is the I think it's the AZPhotoGuild. I don't know, whatever it is. I can't remember off the top of my head. I'll make sure to put it in the show description after the show so you can check it out. But like I said, if you're not going to sign up for ours, find one local to you. You won't regret it. And a good place to do that, again, is Meetup. So like I said, I highly recommend doing that. So what was this workshop that I helped out with? Well, it was an astrophotography workshop that Alex had planned and set up in Flagstaff, Arizona. For those of you who aren't familiar with the area, like I wasn't until this past weekend, it is at a higher elevation than a lot of other areas in Arizona, like Phoenix and places you might be more familiar with. And because of that, the temperature was cooler. I won't say that it was necessarily comfortable because it did get pretty cold at night. We're talking in the 20s and during the day, like in the 50s or so. But Alex chose that location for two reasons. Number one, it was scenic. We're up in the mountains and we're at this very rustic place called the Flagstaff Nordic Center. The attendees slept in these small, like 1 or 2 person cabins, or they had their choice of a yurt as well. If you're not familiar with what a yurt is, just Google it, YURT. Just imagine it's sort of like a teepee that's had the top cut off, really short tent type thing. So, like I said, Alex chose that because it had the camping aspect to it, beautiful location in the mountains, but also because Flagstaff was, I think, the world's first, if I'm not mistaken, according to their signs, dark city, meaning that they went through and revamped, I think, all of the lighting code for businesses. They had to adhere to a certain set of standards for lights at night, parking lot lights. So driving through the city at night was really bizarre because the lighting wasn't the typical parking lot lights and street lights that I'm familiar with here in Michigan. They were extremely yellow. You could tell that they had been designed in such a way as to not radiate light upwards where it's wasted, but directed right down to where it's needed, which means that once you got outside of town, it was dark. It was really damn dark. So again, that was the reason that Alex chose that location. He put a lot of thought into a really cool place. Unfortunately, we only really had clear skies the first night that we were there, and then it was very limited. You know, I'm not going to share a photo tonight because everybody's probably seen Milky Way photos, but just basically we had about a half-hour window where it stayed really clear before the clouds started to move in. So kind of a bummer there because, you know, the premise of the workshop was astrophotography, but Alex being very, he put a lot of thought into what was going to happen in case something like that happened. So he made sure that we had daytime excursions that kept us busy as well. And that's what I'm going to end up sharing. I'm pointing over here because I'm looking at another monitor with the pictures, but, so the daytime excursions, I think, more than made up for the lack of astrophotography time. But he also did bring light painting gear so that, you know, we could do that again if there were clouds interfering with the astrophotography side of things. And because the daytime events and things that he had planned for us kept us so busy, most people, by the time we got back, we were pretty exhausted. So we didn't even, I don't think it bothered really anybody that we weren't up until 3 a.m. shooting stars. So I'm just gonna share some pictures here, and then I'll just kind of go over, the gear that I was using for it and maybe why I was using that equipment. So let me just pull up the screen share here. And the first shot that I've got here is of our incredible host, Alex McClure. And yeah, that's snow. It snowed nightly and during the day at times as well. So this was in the morning, and I think this was on I think it was our last day there. Maybe we experienced plenty of snow. I think one night we've got probably, according to the railings outside of the lodge we're in, it looked like an inch or two of snow, but it melted every single day. So it wasn't like it was a bad thing. It didn't really get in the way of anything. And it was actually really beautiful to be up there and take a walk in the aspen groves with the snow falling around you. So I shot this photo of Alex with the 300 millimeter f4, which I was excited to be able to work with again while we were there. And, trying to find things to shoot that aren't stars is really easy to do when you're in a place like this lodge. I just liked all the detail and the rusticness that was there, So I just did this little diptych of the snowshoes on the wall in the lodge and my shoes. I shot this with I don't remember if this is the EM5 Mark II or the Pen F, but it was with the 17 millimeter f1.8 was the lens that I had on it. And this was just kind of like a little memento of where I was at. I'm actually going to run this off as a print, just, for memory's sake. The lodge, you can tell by the flooring, is it's rustic. And it was such a cool atmosphere to be staying in while we were there. The next photo was definitely one of the highlights of the trip for me. So this is Cathedral Rock in Sedona. And Alex told us of a location that we could go to where, if we were lucky, there would be water in puddles on this big flat slab of red stone. And sure enough, because of all the rain and snow that we had been getting, there was water in these puddles. So we were able to shoot reflections of the cathedral rock there in the distance. And the funny part about actually going to this spot was Alex told us it was this secret trail that led to this spot. And so we get to the trailhead for this secret trail, and there was actually a sign that said Secret Slick Rock Trail, and it had its own QR code, which Alex could just not get enough of that. You know, that what was once a secret trail to get back to this spot now is a sign marking it at the trailhead, and it has its own damn QR code. It's kind of funny. So shooting this, you know, I wish I had a shot of what it looked like surrounding this shot, you know, where I was at, because if you could see how this was done, you would see me lying on my stomach with the 7 to 14 millimeter on an EM1. And that's not anything interesting of itself, but surrounding me, you would have seen all of the other members of this workshop lying on their stomachs in front of mud puddles with their cameras rested on the ground taking this shot. I mean, it looked probably ridiculous. If you'd have walked upon us, you'd have probably thought we were all crazy lying up there on the ground to get this shot. So again, like I said, this was, I think, the EM1 with the 7 to 14 millimeter on it. Really simple shot to do. You just have to get yourself right up in the puddle in order to get the cathedral rock and the reflection. Kind of neat. In the same location, I ended up venturing away from where everyone was at, which was something I found to be a common theme for myself throughout the weekend. And I'll talk about that in a minute, why that's something to talk about. But by venturing away from everybody, I came across this. I don't know what it is. It's kind of cool looking. I didn't know if it was I don't know if it was like a tourist thing, you know, like somebody put that there themselves. I mean, it is kind of an out of the way location, and I definitely was not near the trail when I found this, but it obviously warranted stopping and taking a photo. And this was with the 8 millimeter fisheye. It was the only way that I could really get the shot like this that I wanted. I didn't have really any room behind me to back up without going into cacti. So I ended up putting the fisheye on so that I could stay out of the cactus grove and get this shot. Really cool find. Like, again, I said, I have no idea what it is, but it was really wild. The next shot. So, you know, the previous shots, those are in Sedona, you know, and this was, again, one of our day excursions that Alex had chosen for us. But then another one of our day excursions on a different day was to the Grand Canyon. I mean, you can't go to that area of Arizona and not visit the Grand Canyon. So this is what is considered the south rim of the Grand Canyon. The north end of the Grand Canyon is where you would find the Horseshoe Bend that everybody's familiar with. But Alex chose this end of the Grand Canyon specifically because it gets a little less tourist traffic than the north end. And I guess less is a relative term because there were still an incredible amount of people there. And you really wouldn't know it from the shots that I took. And that was what I wanted to talk about, you know, when I was mentioning, you know, getting this shot. And that is, when you go someplace like this, my immediate reaction was to see where everyone was going and go the other way. I read a statistic one time, and I think it was in a Bill Bryson book maybe, and I don't know how accurate the statistic was, but it went something to the effect of like 97% of visitors to national parks never leave a trail. They never leave the trail. Oftentimes they will stay right on the path to the point of interest. They will take a photo and then they will just disappear and back into their car or whatever and go on to the next spot. And I think I believe that because when I took this shot, I ventured off the trail and walked a couple hundred yards down along the rim, and there was no one there. And I was there for 15 minutes completely by myself until another member of our workshop happened upon me. So if you're going to visit a national park or any park for that matter, get off the trail. I mean, I think that is the best advice I can give you. I'm not saying that no one else has taken this photo, because I'm sure that there have been tons of people that have taken this photo. But the entire time that I was there, no one took this photo. I mean, it was just me on that trail. I had my own seat on the south rim of the Grand Canyon all by myself to just kind of soak it all up. So, you know, like I said, my advice, get the hell off the trail and, you know, blaze your own trail. This last shot, again, it's the same thing. This is further along the same trail. Again, I walked even further down the trail and happened upon this juniper tree, which I totally fell in love with the juniper trees around the rim of the Grand Canyon because they're so weather beaten and worn, but they are an incredibly resilient tree. They look like they're dead. I saw several trees that looked like driftwood that was propped up, and they still had little sprouts of green all over them and juniper berries. So it's pretty cool. And like I said, this is off the beaten path. That's the only way to get, I think, great shots, is just get away from everybody else. So that's pretty much it as far as the images that I wanted to share. This was shot with the 7 to 14 millimeter. The same with this one, 8 millimeter, 7 to 14. And yeah, so that was the images that I just wanted to share tonight. Talking about gear selection for a trip like this, when you go someplace like the Grand Canyon, someplace big and vast, you know, my first thought, and I'm sure a lot of people's first thought, is shoot wide, shoot as big as you can. And I found that when I was there, I ran through all of the pro lenses, even the 300 millimeter up there. There were opportunities to even use that, which, in all honesty, I didn't think that that would be something that I would use. And actually, I'll pull up a picture and I'll show you why I used that lens. I'll do another screen share here. There we go. I've got this all to myself. All right. That's using the 300 millimeter f4 with the teleconverter on. So I was actually at like 420 millimeters. This girl was extremely far away, but it was one of those opportunities to use the lens to convey a sense of size, I guess you would say. If I had shot in that image with an ultra wide, you know, like the 7 to 14, or if I'd shot with the 12 to 40 or something like that, she would just be this little tiny speck way off in the distance on this little bluff. If I had done it with the 40 to 150, she would still be relatively small against that backdrop. But by using the 300, it brings you in really close. You've got that background compression, which kind of gets everything out of focus, but because there's such a great distance between her and the other side of the canyon wall there, you still have all this detail left in the shot, and I think it conveys a really good sense of scale. So like I said, that is a perfect example of why you should not think like you should just get outside of that comfort zone when it comes to lens selection for some kind of a trip. I know nobody wants to carry, you know, that much gear, but I carried it all. I carried 2 bodies and every single lens in the pro lens lineup. And I used every single lens in the pro lens lineup while I was there. So, and it's not like it was a big hassle to carry all that. I had it in a backpack, so it wasn't a problem. So my advice to you is, if you're going to the Grand Canyon, at a minimum, I would say choose 3 lenses. You want something ultra wide as you can possibly get. You're going to want something that's a normal lens like the 12 to 40, and you're going to want something as long as you can get. You're going to use them all. So don't worry about taking them. And that's really about it as far as stuff to talk about the Grand Canyon. I did want to mention the camera with the 300 on it back there is sitting on this Vanguard tripod. It's the VEO 265 CB. It's a carbon fiber tripod. And I think I mentioned maybe on the last episode that I was going to end up doing a review about it. And I'm working on the review now that I'm back from Arizona. But that's a good example of why carbon fiber is worth it. Carrying that around on my back while I was at the Grand Canyon was a treat. I love the Me photos, but the difference in weight, believe it or not, it was noticeable between aluminum and carbon fiber. So just giving them a shout out for sending me that tripod to review for them. And I guess that's about it. I really don't have a whole lot to talk about right now. Normally we would have divided this show up between the two of us, 15 minutes or so a piece, but there's really just me. And I've kind of hit the 20-minute mark all by myself. I appreciate those who took the time to stop in and watch just me talk. And I look forward to having Mike on for the next episode. And we're working on lining up some more guests. One of them is going to be Alex McClure. He expressed a lot of interest in making sure that he could get some time to get on one of the next episodes. So plan on having Alex on very soon, and still working on getting the other members of the Visionary and Trailblazer program on the show. Several of them are even more far-flung than Mike is when it comes to travel, but we'll try to nail them down for you guys and get them on. Thanks again for tuning in. Nice short show tonight. You guys take care and get out there and do some shooting. And remember, get on Meetup. And if you're not going to join mine and Mike's group or Alex McClure's group, find a local group on Meetup and get out there and meet some new people to shoot with. You guys take care. Bye.